and child protective services, and they won't give them back to their loving families because they're making money.
This is a legal system that you're going into. And if you don't know the rules, you will be chewed up and spit out.
Hello.
If I could say anything to a mother who just got their children detained, you're in a crisis. Yeah. Life feels like it's over. The most important thing is regaining custody of your children.
The child welfare system at its core is designed to protect children who need protection, okay? And that's key, is who need protection.
So social workers, out of fear, will remove more children rather than only remove those children that truly need to be removed.
It's okay. It's okay.
This isn't someone stole your car. Someone broke into your house. This someone took your child, your flesh and blood.
It doesn't say on this order that it was not proven. It says untrue. I immediately knew that, okay, well, this ain't over.
Were there signs there? Were there no signs? Did I miss them? Did I catch them? At this point, I honestly don't know.
Families only get a finite amount of time to reunify.
I came into this field to help families, not destroy them.
The difference between the criminal system and the child welfare system is substantial. You have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Fight CPS, the Civil Rights Struggle. I am your host, Amanda Cisco. I am joined by my guest tonight, William. How are you doing tonight, William?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. So without further ado, William, tell us about yourself. Who is William? What do you do?
Yeah, well, pretty committed Christian guy, family man, small business owner, pretty decent friend to have on your side. Super into animals. I have 5 cats, 3 dogs, Nigerian dwarf goats.
A handful.
Yeah, I live in the country, outside of Raleigh, and got a barn with goats, I raise Nigerian dwarf goats and stuff like that.
Oh, beautiful. So you're not actually that far from me. I'm in Norfolk, Virginia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not that bad.
Yeah. So, what do you do for a living, William?
Yeah, I own a carpet cleaning company. I've been
I'm
in
sorry,
the business.
a carpet cleaning company?
Yeah, I own a carpet cleaning company called Evolve by Go Green.
Business.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm a master IICRC certified technician, instructor, carpet inspector, stuff like that.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So, how did CPS become a part of your life?
Yeah. I had gotten full physical and legal custody of both of my children. I'm not going to say too much about any of that, but there was abuse, so I won. There was serious sexual abuse on board in this particular instance.
By the mom's boyfriend?
Yeah, the mom. Yeah, she harmed both of the children in egregious ways.
If I'm not mistaken, you said sexual abuse or just physical?
Sexual, yeah.
That's rare. Yeah. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
That's rare. You're talking to somebody who's involved in a case right now where I'm being accused of horrible, unspeakable things. Like literally on paper, the guardian ad litem accused me. I remember 2 summers ago when his bullshit report first came out and I read what he was claiming that I did. I was in public having lunch with an attorney who's trying to date me, actually. I'm out having lunch and I read this report and I literally fell to my knees and I just started bawling. So I'm going to be impartial, but for a woman to sexually abuse her child is extremely rare. It's extremely rare.
Yeah, it is. And spent 3 years in therapy after that. They were 4 and 5 at the time.
You did, or the kids did?
We all did. Once I got the kids and, got full custody, had to wait 6 months because they made me wait. She just wouldn't show up, wouldn't show up. Anyways.
Were they in foster care during this time that you were waiting, or were they immediately placed with you?
They were with me. They were with me, the whole time. And so she disappeared for 10 years. Nothing. No, nothing. Just completely disappeared, completely derelict as it relates to parental, familial.
And she wasn't intentionally alienated by the courts or CPS?
No.
As a result of the accusations? Okay. So in court, oftentimes, it doesn't always happen, but you're supposed to prove with a preponderance of evidence that this actually took place. Was there ever a criminal investigation?
Yeah, there was. And she, again, this is.
And they made, and they found evidence?
Yeah.
Like this should have been brought into criminal court in that case.
Well, she fled the country.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, she fled the country. And, so let me just fill you in here real quick.
Yeah, please do.
The context matters. So I still maintained a relationship with her family, her mom, her dad, holidays together. We're all like goofy Christian people, right? Anyway, so 2 years ago, one of my kids grabbed her grandmom's phone, found her mom's name, and called her.
Mm-hmm.
This started, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just don't know why I disappeared. I'm so sorry. Da 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 da. So, both girls, both of the kids who were 12 and 13 at the time expressed a desire to communicate with her on the phone. Now, the judge's orders were very clear. I had discretion in regards to this conversations, and also the judge required therapeutic intervention that she would have to be a part of to have a larger role. Long story short, it was a fateful move. Accusations were made in July that I was on heroin and this, and I wasn't. Did a test, no hair, nothing.
Heroin only stays in your system for what, 24 hours?
Yeah, but they did a hair follicle test. I agreed to a hair.
That'll do it. You really want to fuck somebody that you think is on drugs? Do a nail test. That's for life. You can't fake it either. You can't buy things online to fake your hair follicle. No, for a nail test, anybody watching right now, if you think that your partner or anybody's on drugs, nail test. You can't hide that. So. Right. Well, I'm glad you passed.
Yeah. I just, so basically they show up. My wife had begun to go through my second wife began to go through premenopause, and her life darkened. She started closet drinking, left the family 3 times, traumatizing. It's the only mother they've ever known. I was traumatized. They were traumatized. An accusation gets made from a whole other country. So CPS is in my house, and you know what I did? I had good rapport with a social worker. I told her from the beginning, I'm not afraid of you. You're going to find that these things are unfounded, and they were. And
were you ever told what the accusations were?
Yeah.
Some caseworkers will tell you, others won't.
Yeah. I got the petition and all of that.
What were the accusations? Other than heroin, were there any others?
Heroin, domestic violence, neglect. Just insane. I went semi-retired from my business for 8 years after I got full physical and legal custody of my kids. You don't know a man that's more present as a father. I just assure you. I literally went semi-retired with 2 major accounts, only making $65 a year. but spent 8 years at home. I was newly married. I didn't want to enforce that upon, hey, guess what? You're a housewife now. Congratulations, you won the. So I had the means and the mechanisms to do it, and I did it. But and so CPS is involved. I'm hemorrhaging, broken heart from my wife. I'm hemorrhaging, watching the children suffer. The biological mom is in the background. I'm doing supervised calls. It seems to be going okay. Lo and behold, my my oldest child, and she got to my oldest child. They were talking in the middle of the night, planning, plotting. Bella, dadgum. I'm so bad at this.
It's
Buddy,
okay. Relax.
yeah,
You're fine.
yeah, buddy. We'll just call him Buddy. So yeah, long story short, the accusations were made. Come to find out, my own kid was a part of it. I'm the main disciplinarian. I am very strict, and this particular child idolizes the mom to such a degree and has such a deep longing. It's a powerful thing, sometimes they gravitate, more toward the dad, they love them both, but this one, there's an inordinate desire to be reunited fully with this person. So they want to close the case. They come, yeah, they give me the paperwork, the safety plan, and they circle no to everything, accusations unfounded. And what I did next is gonna shock everybody. I asked the CPS for help.
Mistake. Tell me
Yeah,
more.
I asked them for help.
You never ask CPS for help. They fuck you 7 ways to Sunday if
Yeah.
you ever ask them for help. So let's hear the story about that.
Looking back, the social worker that closed the original investigation out, like I literally begged them for help. I had a COVID-affected business at the time. Business is much better now. Had a COVID-affected business at the time. A wife that I didn't know who was closet drinking, completely went cold on the people that thought we could trust her with our lives. So I asked for help. Like, you're a social worker, right? Counselors, and like, she was like, "There's lots of ways to get help." I'm like, "Look,
Help with
let's."
what specifically?
What services? Well,
Yeah.
I ended up.
What did you ask them for help with? I mean, because if you're talking about your business, you had, like the pandemic unemployment, you had, SBA, EIDL loans, paycheck protection program, etc. I'm sure you're a business person, you're savvy.
I didn't take any money from anybody. I worked my way out of it. I asked CPS for help with counseling for my family, my daughters and I, maybe marriage counseling. Long story short, I asked them to stay, and they stayed. I had a specific conversation with the ongoing social worker and the parent coach. I'm deeply concerned that this accusations like this are going to happen again. I believed that my daughter was a part of it, having become willing to do almost anything to get to Europe, where this parent lives.
Accusations like what? Like the drug addiction and supposed domestic violence? Okay.
I had a
That's a legitimate concern.
I had a sneaking suspicion that this particular kid played a larger role than he was indicating, because I thought it was just the mom. Come to find out that this whole thing has been very carefully planned out, up to and including, if this doesn't work, how to get emancipated at 16. This person crept in and completely stole the soul of my kid. I could probably file a parental alienation charge against her once I see my way through this. Long story short, I go out. It's okay.
Sorry.
I go out for New Year's.
When you thought it was somebody knocking, Bobby.
Yeah. So I go out for New Year's. I go out for New Year's Eve for a scheduled outing. I wanted to go bring in the new year with some friends. Within a few short hours, I got a call from my now second probably going to be ex-wife. Hey, said child claims that you strangled them. Which what I did with them that day is bought some more Bare Minerals high-end makeup and went out to lunch. That's what I did earlier on New Year's Eve day. She worked with me, made some money that day.
How old
Took her
is said child, if you don't mind me
15.
asking?
15. So I took her laptop. I took her laptop and her brand new iPhone she just got for Christmas on the 29th. It was like a war. It was ugly. This particular child has other issues related to some of the oppositional defiance, extreme anger, and looking back, it got much worse when this parent came back around. I mean, hindsight's always 20/20. I'm dealing with a wife that just completely altered and changed, trying to rebuild a business and all of that. So I go out with a few short hours. I get a call from my second. I told you this was going to happen. I'm like, well, hello. It's like 10 o'clock at night on New Year's. I went out for New Year's, by the way. Such and such said that you strangled them, that they're scared. They're scared that you're going to hurt them when they come home. Now, you guys don't know anything about me or anything like that. These things are absurd. These statements, this stuff is absurd. I curate in this home an atmosphere that is therapeutic, having been a seminarian majoring in counseling. So I do have at least some wherewithal.
You understand psychology. That's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I'm very careful with these things. And I asked CPS to help because I was scared of what was next with this kid. And I wanted to go on record, and, obviously it was a big mistake. I get the call, and next thing you know, the next morning when I was getting ready to come home, I get pulled over by law enforcement. Felony stop. Are you such and such? Yes, I am. Get out of the car. It's like, whoa.
They have to have a reasonable cause to pull you over. What was that cause? They ran your plate.
That evening, said child called the sheriff with the mom on three-way. Now, meanwhile, they don't know that this person is a pedophile on the other end of the phone. But I showed them literally the next day the paperwork. Like, you guys don't even know what you're a part of.
Oh, paperwork. Great. So let's circle back to that. I want to know, for the sake, because there are so many families out here who are dealing with, whether found it or not, whether they did it or they didn't, they're dealing with accusations or actual acts of hurting their children in such a disgusting, fucking, absolutely horrific way. Like, how the fuck could you ever do it to a child? So I am morbidly curious, for the sake of all the families who can relate to your case, William, what exactly did she do?
You
don't have to go into detail. You don't have to answer that question if you're not comfortable. But can you give us like a generalization? Like, give us like an idea. Like, what was so horrific that this mother just completely like fled to Europe, didn't speak to her kids? You know,
it was oral.
So you said you have 2 kids, male or female, or both?
Girls.
So she performed cunnilingus on her children at what age?
4 and 5.
That is fucking sick for somebody to ever.
She had
let alone a mother.
She stole them and disappeared. I already had emergency custody.
I see. That makes so much sense. Thank you for giving me
Didn't know where they were. Didn't know where they were. Nothing. You know how I found them? I had found out that there's a potential that they were in a particular city in Louisiana. I drove to that city and went and found them. Brought my kids home. And then once they were home.
So how were you able to be reunited with your kids?
I drove and found them. I tracked them down.
Yeah. But private investigators?
Yeah, this is years ago. This is not yesterday. This is years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found them. I had the money and I found them. I
Oh,
tracked her down. Yeah, I tracked her down.
yeah.
Yeah,
So for
PI,
everybody
the whole nine.
watching, if your ex has estranged you from your children and disappeared, like what has happened to our dear William, a lot of times it's kind of expensive, not as inexpensive as an attorney, but hiring a private investigator is worth its weight in gold. It's worth the money. It'll help you find where your kids are.
Absolutely. And
So yeah,
so,
the purpose of the show is to help these families fighting to be reunited with their kids. Depending on the case, it's always a different case. Every case
yeah,
is unique. So,
yeah.
giving our viewers like as much value to feed on and help their
Yeah,
case as we can. That's why I'm asking these very intriguing questions.
yeah. So, fast forward to now, this person suddenly has regained all relevance. They have the judge's order. She's being considered for reunification. The judge's orders never followed through. I'm being treated, even I've demonstrated that I'm not on heroin. I've demonstrated, I'm a small business owner. I work hard. I live on a small farm, in North Carolina. I mind my own business. I don't care to involve myself in somebody else's world, and I certainly don't want my world intervened with. And the reality of it is that they are pushing even visits and reunification with this parent. And actually, I had a 2-hour conversation with the guardian ad litem tonight, and she's mortified at how they're handling it. She was mortified.
So we're talking about the case. Question.
Yeah.
What evidence do you have that their mother sexually assaulted her children via cunnilingus at 4 and 5 years old? Where's the evidence?
Well, number one, it's in Judge Walzick's order. The children, we never talked to the kids about.
Anything can end up in an order. Anything can end up in
I
an
get
order.
it.
You just spit your bullshit in court and it fucking becomes an order. CPS workers do that shit all the time. So as a parent who is literally going through this right now, who would never lay a hand on my child, let alone assault them sexually.
Well,
what evidence did they have to prove that she did this?
The children were committing sex acts upon one another. That's what my second wife and I saw.
That's exactly what they're saying in my case. And I would never hurt my kids. But the actual evidence, though, in civil court, it is law. You must have a preponderance of evidence to accuse a parent of such acts, to justify them our children. So was there any videos? Did she make a confession? Did the kids disclose something in a forensic interview? I'm having trouble as a mother wrapping my head around a woman who would do that to her daughters.
Yeah. Well, they spent about 2.5 years.
How did you come upon this suspicion that she was hurting the kids?
We saw them. We saw the one child doing that very thing to the other child while they were giggling.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately called law enforcement. Law enforcement immediately called CPS. Never talked to. The cop said on the phone, "Don't ask him. Do you want to find out who the hell did this? Don't ask your kids any questions right now. Let us try to get to the bottom of it."
That was smart of them to say.
We'll get a detective to do this, and social workers.
So there was a criminal investigation in this case.
And that's
what were
she
the
fled.
findings?
She fled the country. There's nothing to prosecute.
She fled the.
She hasn't been back since. She's supposed to be coming back April 28th. I look forward to seeing that happen. For sure.
For what, a court date?
Yeah, I mean, my adjudication. This happened December 31st. I haven't had an adjudication.
Did she tell you why she fled? Do you communicate with her?
I do not communicate with her.
So you don't know why she fled the country. You just know that this criminal investigation started and she fled.
She fled. She never came home.
I mean, Europe extradites. If there was a criminal investigation and they, found a charge, they
didn't follow it.
Extradite her to the United States to put her on trial.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's easier said than done because we hit her for child support, and Holland wouldn't enforce it. So, it just all depends. But we spent 2.5 years in therapy that certainly gave us a lot more answers than the initial phase of their mom's abuse of them.
Certainly.
And so, yeah, so
between therapy and this criminal investigation, what were you guys able to discover? Like what, did you have any clarity, any closure?
Well, never.
Do you know what really happened? Are they able to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, the children learned how to talk about it, and it's something that's constantly always been on the table. We've prayed for her. We prayed for Stephanie. Excuse me.
Bless your heart.
We've prayed for the mom almost every morning for 10 years, because even somebody who would do that to a kid we're all better than our worst day.
Fucking filthy.
We're all better than our worst day, and she's still human, and I just refuse. See, hate and bitterness, sweetheart. Hate and bitterness doesn't put the other person in prison. It puts us in prison.
Oh, certainly. Hurt people. Hurt people.
Yeah. And so I refuse to be a victim. I'm not a withering branch. I am hemorrhaging emotionally like I never have before. But at the end of the day, I'm in control. And the reality of it is that they only have power over me because I want them to.
Oh, of course.
The only power they have over me is we were married for about 5 years.
Did you ever see?
I was a single parent for 3 years.
Would you ever have suspected based on the person? Because all the time we tend to fall in love with the idea of who someone is or who they were in the beginning rather than who the person actually is. And it takes people time to show you their true colors. And women do sexually abuse kids. And it's fucking disgusting. And if I could personally put them all on a fucking bus and drive it off a fucking cliff, I would absolutely do so. But did you ever get any impression when you were married to this woman that she would ever do something like that to her kids? Yes, women abuse kids, but it's rare. It's extremely rare.
So in this particular
instance, all the time, we leave a domestically violent relationship and we flee, and the ex-partner gets upset. He holds an emergency hearing, rips me away from my kids, blah blah blah, and the shit hits the fan, and all fucking lies and shit start coming up in the courtroom. That happens a lot more often than a woman, a mother, sexually abuses her kids. So I would love to pick the brain of somebody in a situation like yours to figure out how did that happen? Did you see the signs before?
No.
And it's always like that. You never know.
Yeah. What happened was she got into esoteric Luciferianism.
I don't know what that is.
She's a Satanist.
Oh shit. That's crazy. Okay, that's crazy.
So
my oldest brother, I'm the oldest
Lucifer,
7 brothers and 2 sisters, and I don't know the details, but all I know is he actually got addicted to heroin at some point in his life, and he also worships Satan. I don't know if he still does, and he also beat his wife. I came from a very toxic family, and my older brother and myself are probably the most fucked up out of all of us. Tell me about that. Tell me about what was it called again?
Esoteric Luciferianism. They're pursuing what they're basically. These are basically neo-Gnostics. Gnosticism.
I don't know what that is either. Can you help us all understand?
Gnosticism was was an early first century heresy. Like when John writes when John writes in the book, when John writes in his letter titled First John, that any man that does not believe that Jesus Christ came in the flesh is not of God, but is antichrist. Not the antichrist, but against Christ. And so the early stage of Gnosticism, they worshipped Lucifer. They think that the God of the Old Testament was evil, and that's where Jesus comes from, that God. But Lucifer, Lucifer is really the good God.
I've heard a couple. So one theory is that the God they're referring to in the Old Testament was Jesus, and the God of the New Testament was his father, or vice versa. I don't know. Fuck Christianity. I'm I'm not religious
Yeah.
anymore. But I've
Yeah,
also
yeah.
heard another theory that the God they refer to in the Old Testament was actually Lucifer, and the God of the Old Testament, the New Testament, was Jesus Christ. But you know,
There's
at the end of the day, none of us really know shit about fuck. Like, we don't know anything.
well,
We just have theories. So
yeah.
yeah, but
Well,
tell me more about that. I'm so curious.
it's just her
You're
life
so knowledgeable.
darkened,
Mm.
and she did some dark things I could have never imagined.
Were you ever a
But,
part of it?
what, Satanism?
What, like, whatever, the things that she was doing, yeah, like her chosen
No,
religion.
no, dude. I'm like a total. I'm kind of a Jesus freak, really. So I'm
Yeah,
pretty
you sound
secure.
like it.
I'm pretty secure in
Oh,
what I walk in and all of that, and there's no reason for me to go anywhere. He gives me peace.
certainly.
I have peace.
Was she like participating in these,
It
specific
appears
religions when
that
you met her? Or
it
was it something
appears
that she started doing after you guys were together?
this was after we were together. I guess she met someone somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody gave her a book to read, and she hid it and started doing it. She started cheating on me. She started stealing our money. She got hooked on Adderall. She was writing $19,000 checks for timeshares all over the North Carolina beach. And then she leaves us. She leaves the kids for like 2.5, 3 years. I drag her into court for full custody. They decided at that time we're going to give you mediation. I agreed to mediation because the reality of it is that I always wanted my children to have a relationship with their mother. Up to and including, I started a website and was going to start a business in the Louisiana. I was going to sell this one and start a business in the Louisiana town that she lived in, so that they could have both parents. So, you can't, I grieve for my kid. I haven't cried for myself in a long time because I'm really not the main character in this story. My kid's well-being, and even the one whose heart got stolen from me, she's a victim. She is this woman's victim. She is this person's victim. And so
I have a couple of things that I want you to consider.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to keep it real. So, first, as far as like feeling like your daughter's heart was stolen, there are a couple of things that I learned on my own journey, in relationships. My heart was recently extremely broken. First of all, something to really remember, and this is important. You have, at the end of the day, whether you're their father, their mother, their priest, it doesn't fucking matter. The creator, for fuck's sake. You have no control whatsoever about what a human being, a soul, is going to do in their life. To you, for themselves, we must remember, we don't have any control over what a person's going to do, how they're going to feel, how they're going to think, who they're going to become. We have no control over that. We as a parent, all the time, we try to shape that. We try to set them up as best as we can for a happy and successful life. But at the end of the day, we have no control over who that soul was, that adult soul in a baby body coming into this world. We had no control over who their personality was coming into this world, their predispositions, their path. And we don't understand that. That's beyond us. You're a Christian, I'm sure you understand. We don't have control over that. Second, people change. People change. We are complex human beings. Much more complex than we could ever understand. So sometimes the root of unconditional love is understanding, A, you have no control over what a person does. 2, people change. And 3, people will leave you. You never have any control over how long a person is going to be in your life. They're not a property. They are their own entire soul. And all of that is always subject to change. So accepting those 3 things, people change, you can't control them, and people leave sometimes. That is the definition of unconditional love. You know, also the second thing, have you ever considered the fact that, and I'm gonna be raw here, I was molested by my father at a very, very young age. It came out in therapy later. I did have like vague memories. I was extreme, like 18 months old young. Like it was young as hell. Like that until like to 2 years, I think was like his, you know, thing. I feel terrible saying this, you know, on a live show. Anyway, so in spite of that happening and the trauma that it caused me and the path that it put me on in my life, he also fled to a foreign country. I still care about him. You know, I'm angry with him. Like I'm hurt. I'm confused. Like it really fucks with you, especially at an age as young as that, or 4 or 5. Like you're extremely impressionable. Like those are very important years. So that time is extremely important for you to be developing in a healthy way. So for, you know, for a traumatic event like that to happen, you know, at 18 months old, let alone like 4 or 5 years old, it really takes an effect. But even in spite of that, if he were to come down with a terminal illness today, you know, I would make sure he's taken care of. I don't know if I'd let him live in my house, but you know, you still like that's, as parents, we're not perfect. From what you're telling me about her chosen religion, she's probably mentally fucked up. Like she got lost. She got super lost. Like she's
a borderline
totally in the outer darkness. Like, you know, if what you're saying is true. So when your brain fucked like that from some kind of crazy religion, I don't know a lot about them, but I know that things like what you described happened to your daughters is not uncommon to happen if you participate in something like that. I don't care. I will never care to know what the fuck those people do. Like this shit is fucked up. Like Hollywood is literally built on worshiping Baphomet and Satanism, and it's not conspiracy theory. Like it's facts. Like, you know, pedophilia is an integral part of our government, and that's also fucked up. That's why pedophiles, a mom steals lunch meat from the grocery store and gets thrown in jail by Walmart for 2 years, whereas a pedophile gets what, like 6 months, 3 months, if you're lucky. Like the fuck, you know. And it's because the people making these fucking laws are the ones committing pedophilia. And that's not a theory; it's a fact. You know,
it's very, very real, up to and including some current people we all know.
Oh, yeah.
They
like,
have.
are you referring to Biden's son?
They hold high offices. They do. You know, all of that. You know, I don't know if anybody else.
Here's the kicker, though: 99.99% of them are male. So you come across a case like yours, I can't help but be morbidly curious because it's so rare.
Yeah, I still have to force myself to believe that it happened at times because it's so far outside of my purview.
I was in the hospital with my daughter before the case got flipped on me, and I, to this day, still struggle with denial that she had such severe pelvic injuries that we had to go to the hospital. And what did my jurisdiction do? Fucking nothing. Not a fucking thing. I went to the goddamn police operations center and spoke to special crimes detectives numerous times with a forensic childhood psychologist, for fuck's sake, who witnessed for herself the injuries that occurred. What did they do? Fucking nothing. And then lo and behold, the case gets turned on me when I come after the city attorney for doing something illegal on my case. And I said, bitch, I'm a law student. Don't fuck with me. So now I'm facing a retaliation case. So like I'm trying to be unbiased, but with my current experience, I apologize. It's hard for me. This is difficult. So I hope that between your testimony and our viewers and what we're all experiencing as parents, because like I said, every case is unique, help us understand. Like, so when CPS became involved in your lives, this is the Civil Rights Struggle Show. What civil rights violation took place in your case?
Didn't get the 24-hour visit. They put my child on SSRIs, knowing that I wouldn't approve of it. It caused her to absolutely lose.
That's a major issue. Do you know why they did that though? They fucking did that because when you get a child put on psychiatric medication while they're in your custody,
Yeah.
You get more money. You get more money.
Yeah,
If you can get them
yeah, you
diagnosed
get more
with
Title
illness,
IV money. Yeah, you get more Title IV-E money for sure. Yeah, no, that's just it.
You're doing your research.
Yeah, listen, Upton Sinclair said this. It is difficult to get someone to understand something that their salary absolutely depends upon them not understanding.
That's a
It is
good one,
it
William.
is difficult. Yeah.
Can you repeat that again? Repeat that again.
Upton Sinclair. He's a great cynic and philosopher.
Oh, I
Said,
love
said,
Sinclair.
said that it is difficult to get a man to understand something that his salary absolutely depends upon him not understanding.
I love that.
That's it.
Absolutely
That's the
love that.
bottom line. I have them on video in a planning Zoom meeting admitting they violated my civil rights.
That's big. That's big. Okay, so what did they admit to doing?
Giving her SSRIs when they knew I didn't want it to be done.
And you are you a licensed therapist, or you just have like background in education and therapy?
No, I don't. I'm not a, it would be a psychiatrist that prescribes medicine, but no, we handle things holistically, in my house. And I just anything but SSRIs, because John Hopkins, Yale, Harvard, they've all done studies on this.
Caleb, I'm so sorry.
And at the end of the day, suicidal ideation and suicidal tendencies and actually completing suicide goes up as much as 300% in adolescent girls. So of course my answer is no. And now the hospital fought with me. So during I have one child that wants to be here very, very badly and is weeping constantly to get here. And so, I mean, it's just one thing after what we need to do in these shows, we need some more particulars. What's the statute? Because I'm having a hard time finding codes and statutes. Easy to do, one place. How does it apply? I have this book. This world to me.
That's Vincent Davis's CPS book. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, where's the common? Where's the information that has the common violations? What it is, what the statute, what the code is, what the motion might look like. We have a lot of outrage, but I don't see enough the transmission of intellectual information.
Here's the problem with that. There's a reason why. Okay. First off, even though we have federal and constitutional law, each state, and this is why these states, especially in CPS cases, seemingly do whatever the fuck they want. Because even though we have the Constitution and federal law to fall back on, unless you can specifically not just identify, but prove a specific federal crime, you can't bring a case in federal court. You're stuck in state court. They're going to dismiss that shit after you pay that $600 filing fee or $700, however much. Okay, so that's the first part. The Constitution, even though the Constitution is the highest law in this land, there are only congressional statutes in the United States Code that only serve as remedies for constitutional violations. But the confusion happens when each state, as stated in the Constitution, has been given, even though they're supposed to follow the Constitution and not violate it, they also, on the other hand, so on the one hand, states must follow the Constitution, they cannot violate constitutional rights. Yet on the other hand, the Constitution also says each state has the right to make and enforce their own laws as they see fit. Okay? So you have these two things that have to try to be balanced. So even though constitutional law is universal in this country, you have these states that make these laws in which they act and operate upon. And even if those laws are in violation of the Constitution, you have to bring that to the Supreme Court to change that. We elected the officials that put these laws into effect in the first place. So every state is going to have different laws. Every state has their own motherfucking laws, statutory laws.
So this is right.
Laws. So in a book that was written by attorney Vincent Davis to help parents navigate this fucked up system, which is like a maze between all these states. He can't teach you how to do legal research. Like, he can't cite all 50 states, like ridiculous, long list of laws that allowed them to act the fuck up in the first place. He can't, you know, that would take light years. So what you have to do, this is how I'm going to help you find what you're looking for. You have to go online, okay? YouTube University, Google, like, there are ways to do this. I use a course called Jurisdictionary, aka How to Win in Court. Dr. Frederick David Graves is a very valued mentor of mine. He teaches you in his class how to do legal research. Doing legal research alone and finding the laws that apply to your case, finding the case outcomes and you know, the annotations and the judgments that these judges make, these published decisions from appellate cases. There are so many different laws in so many different states, so many different cases. Like, there is a very specific way that you have to learn how to do legal research
and understand precedent. Yeah.
So, as a matter of fact, I always have an educational piece. We're only 5 minutes until we're out of time, but I will pull up a little bit of
and I do have a paid lawyer, by the way.
My Wi-Fi 100% is not working right now. What in the world? I'm sorry, repeat that, please.
Yeah, and just to put it out there, I did hire a paid attorney. So
okay, so
yeah, I hired it. I just thought I'd mention that I actually hired an attorney. So they're not going to give me they're not going to give a pro se litigant a judgment in the county court. Now these people rule the county court, but they lose often in appellate courts and higher courts.
I'm pro se right now, and I'm literally being raped, quite literally.
Yeah. So I came up with $7,000 and got the party started.
We got it working. Okay, so before we go, I want to pull up the part that talks about legal research.
Yeah, like how often, like, doesn't it say somewhere in some law somewhere that I should get a certain amount of visits with my daughter when I want? Don't we have the right to familial placement? Now they have my kid branded as crazy. Yes. Now they got my kid. All right.
So one thing, and they always violate this shit. Like, they never listen to it. But doing this will set you up for success when you have to go through the timely and costly procedure of appealing the case. By law, and this is the federal Department of Health and Human Service law, they must look to preserve the families before they place them in foster care, before they take them into the system. So Vincent Davis always says on his shows, write a list of 25 family members and friends who are willing to take the children, and you send it to them. If they don't, and they never listen to it, but the fact that you sent it and they didn't listen and they didn't follow, that is a law. And the fact that they are not doing what is spelled out in their federal laws, which they must follow by the fucking letter to receive all this damn grant money that they're getting. So give the caseworker, give the courts a list of 25 people that that are willing to take the
we've already like I was trying to tell you, my aunt and her husband passed the background check, all of that, but now they're saying she's going to be in therapeutic foster care for 30 days because of this hospitalization incident. They gave her these drugs and it made her really weird and dark, and she ran away. And so basically what happened is she said in the last meeting we had, okay, therapeutic foster care is only going to last 30 days. And then as long as you're stabilized, you can go back to regular foster care, the place you were that was pretty decent. But now they're saying, well, no, she needs therapeutic foster care long term. I'm like, you guys created this problem.
Yeah.
You need to send her home. But now they're saying that they won't do family placement because because she's crazy. No, you gave her the wrong medicine. And so that's the problem I'm having. I've already selected 2 that I'm comfortable with, but now they're saying no because, yeah, you know what I mean?
Of course. Now, before
Yeah.
we go, would you like me to share
Yes.
from my course that I've learned from how to do legal research?
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to go over a little bit, but knowledge is golden. So it goes like this. If you've ever visited a law library, and this is courtesy of Jurisdictionary, written by Dr. Frederick David Graves. If you've ever visited a law library, it's an eye-opening experience and highly recommended, if for no other reason than for you to see firsthand how many thousands of books are required to contain the law for even a small part of our nation. Most local libraries include sets of books to cover only a single state or region. Like I said, that's why it's so difficult. Only libraries at the largest law schools, the United States Court of Appeal or the United States Supreme Court, contain complete sets of volumes necessary to research the applicable law in all federal courts and all state courts. So in Abe Lincoln's day, a fairly complete library would require no more than a single shelf and could be purchased at a fairly reasonable price. But by 1986, even a basic law library required hundreds of books and cost tens of thousands of dollars. Each book required regular updates to keep current with the new laws and case reports coming out every single day. This meant subscription costs for little inside paperback booklets called pocket parts that slipped into cardboard pockets glued inside the back of each volume needing updates. So I've gone to my court's law library. Most state courts will have a law library within the court that is open to the public that you can go to read all of these law books. So for example, I couldn't pick it up. I'm sitting on a stack of, classic books, but these hardcover books actually leave space in the very back for paper booklets to be added into them for the updated laws, like laws that were repealed, laws that, so if you become a lawyer, you never stop learning the law. It changes all the time. That's why lawyers specialize. So just to give you a little bit of, personal experience and input for that. So without the latest pocket parts, the reference you were relying on wasn't up to date. If your opponent cites more recent legal authorities on an issue, when you get to court, you lose. Because a published opinion in a case in your jurisdiction that is up to date enforces that law. It interprets and enforces the laws that apply to your case. So that's why it's really important. So the book system was never up to date. By the time the new law was typeset, printed, and shipped out, it was already old news. Even pocket parts couldn't keep up. To make matters worse for book-bound researchers, the rate at which a new law is released doubles every 10 years or so. There's no relief in sight. Not only does population grow exponentially and the popularity of litigation increase at a frightening rate, but lawmakers seem intent on adding legislation that reaches into every nook and cranny of our lives, further increasing the growth of law in general. A century ago, a few dozen appellate cases might be reported each week nationwide. Today, many thousands of cases are reported every week by appellate courts, making it impossible to keep up with using a research system tied to a paper. If recency is important to winning in court, which it is, a faster legal research method is needed. So, without further ado, let's talk about case law. When an appellate opinion is published in response to routine issues raised by routine cases, appellate justices seldom go into much detail why they agree or disagree with the trial judge, rarely running into more than a few paragraphs. Many affirming opinions say nothing more than affirmed or per curiam affirmed or even simply PCA. But when issues are unique or of great interest, published appellate court opinions may run into many dozens of pages. Here. Depending on the novelty of public importance of the outcome. This is the basis of what we call case law, written published opinions of appellate justices. But case law is literally law based on cases that have been tried and appealed, and a higher judge makes an opinion, published or unpublished, on that law, on that case, and it becomes part of the interpretation of the law that that appeal was based on in the first place. It's very complex. So, an issue that has been discussed and explained in a published appellate court decision is said to be stare decisis, from the Latin to stand decided, meaning simply that the court's opinion is firmly settled and those of us involved in litigation may rely upon it to fully control lower court judges. That's why legal research is so very important. So I'm going to give you all of the gems that I can give you tonight. Opinions of appellate courts control all trial level judges in the same jurisdiction. I'll say that again. Opinions of appellate courts control all trial level judges in the same jurisdiction, whether it's family court, criminal court, I don't give a fuck. If it's general district civil, if it's from an appellate court and they issue an opinion, it controls the law in that jurisdiction. So, do you want me to keep going, William?
Opinions control.
Yes, opinions of appellate courts. So, say the decision that those CPS workers made on your case, giving your daughter SSDIs, which increased her suicide rate potentially by 300% without your consent. You're her father. You're her caregiver. You have the fundamental right to make those fucking decisions, not them. And they even admitted it. So if you lose this in trial court based on the law that gives you that fundamental right to take care of your child, and you bring that, so you appeal that case, say you lose in trial court, you bring it up to the judge, they fucking violated my civil rights. And he says, yeah, well, go fuck yourself. And you appeal that case into appellate court, they will make a decision if you properly cite the law that they violated. The appellate court will make a decision on that case. And that decision, their interpretation of that law that was violated, becomes a ruling law in all trial court levels in your jurisdiction. If you take that case to appellate court and say, they put my daughter
So how do I find
seriously dangerous
how do
medication,
I find the opinion?
violated this, and this. You bring it to appellate court and they say, you know, either yay or nay. That decision that they made either gets published or unpublished, but regardless, you know, published opinions hold more weight than unpublished opinions. And that becomes controlling law in that jurisdiction. The high court said,
okay, where do I find it, hon? Where do I find it?
Yeah, go ahead and say that again.
Yeah, where? Okay, I'm a believer. Where do I find it? How do I find these opinions? How do I find appellate opinions that control all trial level judges in the same jurisdiction? Published opinions have more weight. Where are they? And where can I go find them tomorrow?
All right. Well, those written opinions are regularly published online and in printed volumes, generally called reporters. By researching these opinions, one may find cases where appellate courts have agreed with you, and you can use those opinions to control your trial judge by citing them and making clear to that trial judge that failure to agree with you and the prior appellate court decisions that control them will result in your appealing the very same court that has already agreed with you on that issue in the first place. So that's the big part of how you win at the trial level. Okay, so let's see. You can access the law for every state and federal court right from your current device online. If you had to learn this course from a dusty old book, blah, 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 you'd have no video clips, no audio clips, no hyperlinked references or online quizzes, there would be no affordable way to use and keep the course up to date. Okay, so here, let me just speed read through the irrelevant parts. In less time than it takes to locate the paper-bound volume you need in the law library to turn to the proper page and find a case on point to help you persuade your trial judge to rule in your favor, you can log on to any of the several web-based legal research sites and find several dozen cases that fit your needs exactly. So, to begin, you can use the Boolean operators to search. That is spelled B-O-O-L-E-A-N, Boolean operators to search. This makes finding what you seek as easy as putting together a frame of terms assembled in zone on what you're after. So there's a Boolean operators table, and I'll show this to the screen. I'm on my Microsoft Surface. So I can post this. I can post the Boolean operator for legal research table on my CPS Civil Rights Struggle page for you guys to reference. That is something that engages search engines to access exactly what you're looking for and what you need to find by using specific indicators within the search criteria that you're typing. So, and there's also a video. I don't know if I'll be able to post the video because I paid for this course. I paid a lot of fucking money for this course too. Fuck, don't even ask me. So everything of value in your search for controlling law to keep the judge in your case from having a free hand to rule however they wish is available online. When online legal research first became available, we had to connect to expensive legal databases costing hundreds of dollars every month for subscription fees. Westlaw, which I have used in my law school. I'm in pre-law right now. Westlaw is good, but they also say Lexis. I have LexisNexis, courtesy of a supervising attorney that was a really great mentor to me. That is probably the Mercedes of legal research, is LexisNexis, but it's very expensive. So if you use Westlaw, that is available to the public. So if you don't have a nearby courthouse law library or an extra $30,000 or more to purchase your own set of legal reference books, you're pretty much out of luck. Some lawyers were faced with winging it with guesswork, those of us who weren't born with silver spoons in our mouths. So let's see. Clever argument is not enough. Having all the facts is not enough. You must cite controlling appellate case law in your motions, memoranda, and verbal presentations at hearings and at trial. You must instruct the judge on the controlling law, explaining why you should win by citing official legal authorities the judge is required to obey, court rules, cases, constitutional provisions, statutes, and codes. Without citations to legal authority on the record in your case, you cannot control the trial judge nor win on appeal if appeal becomes necessary. Okay, so it talks about bad judges, classifying legal resources. Doing legal research, it's like you said before, the rabbit hole. It goes deep. So, and this is kind of a long course. There's no simple 5-minute answer on, hey, this is how you do legal research. So, the law library, blah, blah, blah. Let me see if I can find something of value to you today.
I think I'm going to
ask away. We're already past time by 15 minutes at this point. But I want to help you.
Yeah, that's okay.
But there's no simple
so should I ask
for me to explain to you how to do the legal research that you're going to need to cite the law that is necessary in your case.
All right. May I ask you a question, please?
Sure.
Okay, I need to ask you one quick question, okay? Should I ask my attorney? I'm obviously going to question him about what this fella just said, what you just read. I mean, what do you think there's any value in asking where he's going to procure his appellate opinions and how he's going to try to control the tone and the ebb and flow of the room and instruct the judge on what the law is actually saying? Should I ask
exactly
him what his plan is?
I must disclose and give myself a disclaimer. I'm not a licensed attorney. I cannot give you legal advice or tell you what to do. However, you are entitled as a citizen of the United States of America to knowing the law and legal education. Okay, the National Bar Association says otherwise, and they can go fuck off. The Bible even says you're a Christian. Woe be unto the lawyers because they took the keys. Woe be unto the lawyers for they took the keys of knowledge and hidden it from the people, aka the law. Anyways, that's literally in the fucking Bible. Absolutely, you need to be asking your lawyer that. I did a show probably a week or two ago. I have 3 now, but I can try to find it. This course also teaches that. I used a portion of this course to explain to our viewers how to tame your lawyers. 150%. You should be asking your lawyer, what case law are you using? What is your strategy? What do you plan to do? So is your attorney a private attorney or a court appointed?
Oh, he's private, $7,000 attorney.
Okay, so $7,000, he better be fucking communicating with you and saying, hey, this is going to be our strategy in court. This is our evidence. This is what I'm going to be doing. This is, most lawyers are so fucking lazy these days. And Vincent Davis is not one of them. But, and I feel bad, working for such an accomplished and capable attorney, to even suggest this, but unfortunately, this is the ugly truth. I've spoken to Dr. Frederick David Graves himself on several occasions, and he has taught me so much. I mean, like, I'll save that for another show. Lawyers are lazy. Lawyers are liars. Lawyers want to fucking get paid. Lawyers want to overbill your billable hours. You know, they want their fucking money. They don't give a fuck about your case. They go home at night to their fucking wife and kids, and they go the fuck to sleep. Or husband if you're a female. You know, they don't care. They don't care. You have to check your lawyers. You would be amazed. You would be amazed. Okay, so I'm still in law school. I don't have my bar license yet. I still have a little bit of ways to go. You would be amazed how many of these motherfuckers I've personally seen in court who don't even understand the rules of evidence. Like, bitch, you don't even know what to object to. Let alone doing something as complex as legal research specific to your jurisdiction and your case. There's so many layers to the law, so many moving and integrated parts. Like they overlap each other. It is no simple feat. But if you truly want to win your client's case or win your own case, legal research is crucial. It is paramount. It is necessary. You know?
Yeah, how do you tell it? But what I'm saying is, let's say I went to Westlaw. Let's say I went to Westlaw,
If you pay
okay?
an attorney, Grant, mind you, he's gonna charge you for the hours of legal research, which is a long time. So either you ask your attorney, how can I help you? How can I help you? How can I assist you win this case for me? What can I do? Either one, tell me what to look. I'll do the legal research for you. Tell me how to do it. Or B, motherfucker, you better do this legal research and tell me what you come up with.
Yeah.
So it could go both ways.
Yeah. All right.
But
Fair
absolutely, enough. Make sure your attorney is doing that legal research for you. But most lawyers these days, like these trial courts that we as parents are being dragged into, are such a fucking insult to Constitution and law and justice. Like, they're a joke. They're literally a fucking joke. So bringing something as complex as case law into your trial, people are like, I'm not going to do that. I don't have to do that. So most lawyers don't do their case law research.
Oh, he better.
Usually it's in something like criminal court.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm going to jump off. I got a lot of really good takeaways. These are really good takeaways.
I appreciate that. I hope that I was able to help you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. This was what I needed for now. The adjudication is the 28th of April. So, well, and it's been 4 months.
But I'm sending you good vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. The adjudication, it's going to be, I think, 120 days from the time it started until the adjudication. So, yeah.
You drag this out. These cases tend to drag on. Well, William, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Reach out, give us an update in a couple of weeks. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. I will be live tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern time. That's 6 a.m. Pacific time. And it'll be Fight With Me Fridays. We're going to be unpacking trauma and learning how to cope with our CPS cases. So please join me tomorrow, and everyone have a great night. Thank you again, William.
Good night. Thank you. Thanks.